Good morning, everybody. I'll give you the fancy opening and then we'll get to it. Get you some tunes. Put that music. Put this on. Well, I know it's on. There we go. So we stopped that. We got the Christmas background. Let's do it. Good morning, everybody. I think you got a lot here that's worth paying attention to. So what we're going to do are a couple things. Number one, we're going to go here. Number two is before we even get into these names, let's do it this way. And I want to make sure that I have the right thing here. Hold on one second. Make sure I have the right setup here because it jumps cameras and it jumps mics sometime. All right, we're good. Groovy. Let's do it. And it's weird because I'll use this in the morning and it won't jump it. And then some other times it will jump it. All right, I'm going to start here. So the big thing that a lot of people are going to look at this morning is going to be Bitcoin, and we should start there. It's definitely a nice move. Whether we get more out of this remains to be seen, but it's certainly a nice move, the curl. And then, of course, you have that you're flipping for the first time, that 55. I do think that some of these names like BMNR, they're going to get play today on this. Whether that play lasts or doesn't last, that remains to be seen. But you're definitely going to get play out of this. So I certainly think it's something to pay attention to. I don't think it's something where we have to like plow into it. But, I would watch MSTR a lot. If MSTR can get through like the 22, it's a big deal. You have not been able to really close over that for a period of time. So I think that would be a pretty big deal if you're able to do that. Trying to think what else I really want to stress about this. I don't know that you're just going to rock and roll and flip back to where everybody thinks you're going to, but it's a start. I mean, maybe it gets us back to 100 and then we can go from there. Um, that's kind of where my head is with it, but I don't know that you have to think anything more than that. But it's still 10%. I don't think you're going back to highs anytime soon, but it does look like you're going to try to attempt something here. And this is a pretty specific pattern. You've seen these kinds of patterns before, volumes falling off, and then all of a sudden starting to lift. So I definitely think there's something to it. Give me 1 second here, and then I'll just get rid of that, and then that's good too. Uh, bu- 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 uh, okay, so let's go to the ES and start there. And I think you're still in the same spot. And I do think it's worth paying attention to. We're going to start it all over again. And what we'll do is we'll go to this bear chart and we'll flip to this. And I'm just going to draw it out for you guys. Thanks for the comments on Saturday's video. I think that format is going to work out really well, doing it and setting it up that way. If you look at the ES from that level, you're still riding that point of control. And then if we just do the simple things like take the top, you'll see that we have hit here on Friday and we held. And then if we take that level, you'll see it's roughly the same level. And as you just continually move through it, you can kind of see what's going on, right? So for us, for our purposes, I think we're better off getting rid of everything but the most recent low. And then the other thing that you could do is the most recent high. And you'll see how wedged in you are from those areas. So you're kind of pinched, right? So then if you take the pinch, a lot of news coming through. And you can see that peak, that most recent peak, is also that point of control. So that's going to be a huge level for you to get through today. This one doesn't really look like it's mattering that much. Like this one, they're kind of just running buckshot all over. But we're going to leave it there and see how that plays out. But these would be the levels that I would really pay attention to and then go from there. That's how I see it, right? Like that's how I see this morning. And that's what I would be focused on, those levels. I don't know. I'm not sure that we're going to get through this stuff. You have a lot of moving parts today, like a lot. So I'm very curious how this is going to play out. Very, very curious how this is going to play out. And then, we'll see how that's going to go. But I really do like that area as a high. And I think it's really important to understand that. I also think that if you look at the NQ, you're getting a different game here. And what we'll do is we'll do the same thing there. I'm going to take a bunch of questions today because there's so many names that I could go over. Weight Watchers, now they're selling pills. Okay. You have these lower highs and you have these higher lows, but you keep rejecting that area over and over again, completely, utterly rejecting it. And if we did the simple things here again, watch. Okay. So much better when it works. You're kind of rejecting that. Not kind of, you're rejecting it. So we want to watch that, but we don't really need that one because all we really have to do is you'll say it. Like that's going to be the one that's really going to matter. And then of course you're going to have this low here and you're over it. So you're in this area now. And so you're kind of being pinched, but if you take a step back, you'll see that you're still in that area. What's more troubling to me about this, and I don't want to turn this into a whole like advanced level on VWAP, but if my range is this to here, right, and then this is lower than that, then that means all the people that bought here are in at this level. They're not really in up here, right? And like you can always kind of see this stuff by just dropping another volume profile, but it's kind of an issue. So, I'm not really sold on this whole thing yet. If I drop this to a 5-minute and just show this, you can't miss it. Like, oh, you mean we're hitting these levels and rejecting? It's like, it's not rocket science, like what's happening. And I could even get more in depth with that one and remove it and put it right at the top. And it'll be even more pronounced, right? Like, oh, here you are. Yep, come on in. Everything's fine. And everything's just not fine. Breaks. And so you're in this area. Now you're trying to hold it here. For me, looking at this, it's definitely not ideal. And it's certainly something that we're going to want to pay attention to. So, that's really where my head is with this. Let me just, delays. All right. So White House is going to delay furniture tariffs for a year. That's good. For certain names, should move certain names. But that's kind of how I see it. I think you're kind of wedged in here. And I don't think there's really, a whole heck of a lot for me to say or do about that. So, that's really the way that I see that. I'd rather open this up to questions. There's a bunch of names that I could go over here. You're seeing follow through on the Micron. Whether that holds, doesn't hold, that remains to be seen. I think I think you might gap fill on these things and give yourself an opportunity, but we'll see. You got a huge upgrade on Taiwan Semi today. So that's nice. We got that going for us. That's pretty much the big ones here. Just going through this real quick. What else do I think? Venezuela. Everyone's a Venezuelan expert. If you want the best news on Venezuela, just go to Twitter. Everyone is now flipped. They were all experts on Ukraine, but the good news is now they're all experts on Venezuela. So that's good. So you can get all your information from them and they'll tell you exactly what's going on. Or you could just look at the company that has the most to gain, which is, Chevron, considering that they have billions that were taken from them in Chavez. It looks like they're going to get it all back, but what do I know? So I would focus on that. But, with this stuff like SanDisk and these kinds of names, you're going to see this stuff tend to come in early. And then what you want to do with that is just, you either play it or you don't. And then you kind of go from there. But what you don't want to do, in my opinion, understand that this stuff can go for, you can go for a ride here on some of this stuff. So you always want to understand that like this can always get, they can like lure everybody in and then it can always get worse. So just understand that. I think that some of these names are going to be pretty volatile today, to say the least. But what you want to do with them over everything is just set them up and just watch them. So like, I would think off the open, you're going to get people that are going to take the profits, right? And then it's going to have to be one of these things where, like here, I'll show you what I mean. So then you go here and take a look at the cues. Like you faded hard on Friday after that open. So I think a lot of people are going to be jumpy, man. That's my sense of it. And I think there's some really good names out there and some really good upgrades. But you're pretty darn jumpy. And if we do roll over, I think it's going to be, I think it's going to be like Tesla, candidly. I think it's going to be PLTR again. Like if we roll over, they're going to go after the same ones that they hammered last time. That's where my head is. And then what you would do is just see, are they able to hold, the ones that they really want to own? You're in a real weird spot here. I can't stress that enough. I'll show you this. They moved the put wall down to 610. So, and I'm not saying that you can't rally. I'd make my life so much easier if you did, but you're just not. So, you're playing with a market that's got the breadth is weaker and come on, work with me. And you close below the 55, the 12 and the 22 and they're bidding stuff up. And I'm not really seeing follow through. One of the things I was just talking about was, even this BIDU, like there's zero follow through this morning. Like that was really big news, zero follow through. Then I go and look at something like AXSM, that was really big news, zero follow through. So you're not really seeing that, right? this morning. You're not seeing huge follow through on these names. ASTS, everybody had to get involved. You're down 3% this morning. Rocket Labs, you're down. So where's the follow through? And we're just not seeing that. So I'm going to have to lean towards the majority of what I saw the other day. For me, what I'm going to have to do with this, pardon me for a second. What I'm going to have to do here is I'm going to have to assume that everything. Oh, we're going to play that game. You want to play that game? Okay. Hold on one second. They want to play their nonsense. Too early for nonsense. I'll tell you that right now. Way too early for nonsense. How about this? Yeah, there you go. So what I'm getting at here is you got to be super careful today. Like super careful. Like no golden goose. Like don't like think anything special. Nothing is special today. Like nothing. I'd be really, really careful. And there's a lot of this stuff that I really want to get involved with. And I can already tell the way that they're trading. No, they're already trying to fade everything. And they're already trying to get out ahead of this. And if they're trying to do that now, off the open is probably going to be worse. So I would watch those names pretty closely. They would be the names that I'd be paying attention to. Since Asia, if you ever look at a name and since Asia, you haven't really been able to rally, that's usually a really bad sign. And there are some of the things that I'd pay attention to. Also, am I supposed to be excited that that Trump loves Elon? Okay, so it's like a love fest. Who cares? People seem a little too excited by that. Also, the silver market, again, everybody's giddy. I can only tell you, if you watch Saturday's video, the commercial hedgers don't seem to be that giddy about it. But maybe Twitter knows more than they do. So you never know. I just don't see the reason that I'm going to get all giddy for this in here. All they have to do is come out and just change the margin requirements again. That's all they have to do. What else did I really have that's pertinent? That's really it that I had out there. So let's get to it. I'll go through all this as fast as I possibly can for you guys. Good morning from cold New York City. Good morning from Miami. It was 50 degrees today, 55. Let's put on a flannel. It's bad, super bad. Yeah, I saw this. It kind of makes sense with transports, right? So when you go and take a look at how transports have been acting, not that one, for God's sake. I wish he really didn't have the same symbol. Let's go to this. But transports have been on fire, so it's not overly surprising. You've also seen that you're seeing the XLI names break out. So it does make sense to me that you could see Boeing start getting it back together. Whether or not you want to play that here, it's up to you. But yeah, they're definitely getting it back together. And I think these smaller names are definitely getting it back together. So I would definitely be paying attention to those as well. I definitely think there's something to that for sure. So yes, I mean, I'd watch it, Kev, but I don't know. I don't know if I'm a believer, right? So a lot of these names did hold. Caterpillar, they're holding. They're definitely holding there. I just don't know that we're going to see are we going to see one market rally and another one fade? That's really kind of where my head is. Is that what we're going to see today? I'm not sure. I'm not sure. So AWM. UWW. How's this going? Yeah, I think she's about ready to have a really bad day. All right. I don't think anybody really cares about this for some reason. I'm not really sure why, but people don't really seem to care about this. this new pill that's out. You would think everyone would be so excited to take their new pill, right? They just don't seem too excited, do they? I don't know. I'd be real careful with that kind of stuff. That the caterpillars. I want to see the market actually start to push, and I don't see it. I don't see it that way yet. I don't see the panic yet that they feel that they have to get in. As a matter of fact, I see the exact opposite. To be candid, um, I see the exact opposite. Really. So I would be very careful. I think a lot of it was unwinding of short positions and names that they want to hold. What I was hoping to come into this morning was a lot of these names really holding their gains, and they're not. They're actually fading pretty hard. So when you start to see this, you know, get out. Like you gotta realize like, oh, I could be wrong here, and it could be really painful. Um, I truly think that that's how you need to look at some of this stuff. I really do. I think that that's some of the stuff you really want to pay attention to. So, some of this stuff I'd really like to see rally, but I'm not so sure that that's what we're going to get. So, we're going to have to watch this super closely this morning. I can't stress it enough. Like, I know people are out there going, oh man, this is going to work. That's going to work. Um, this got upgraded, that got upgraded. Like, you had a lot of that last night, but you're not doing anything here and you're doing nothing but fading so far. So we really want to watch that. That's where I'm at this morning, but we'll see how it goes. Yeah, I know a lot of guys are playing that ONDS. It's not really for me. I see it. I mean, I think it looks great. I'm not really into it. Like, I don't know the story behind it. I don't know. I'm not sure. Like, if I wanted to play like a small guy, I think I'd be playing this out of all of them. Um, but I'm not so sure I want to do that just yet. So, yeah, the thing with the Sox is you're getting the right names. Like, you're getting the broader base of names, right? Like the ASML, the Micron. Like, you're definitely getting a broader base of names. But I don't know that, I don't know. Got some downgrades today on this. Oh, nobody likes this deal with Warner Brothers. Hmm. The RR is super interesting because you're going to go into CES, right? So, that might be able to get some leeway from that. You might get something out of that, but I don't know. It's not really doing it for me either. I'm really in wait and see mode the way I'm watching the market act today, guys, because you're not really seeing a lot. You know, you're not really seeing a lot. You're not really seeing a lot of follow through here, um, at all. So, you know, let's see this. I don't know. I don't like any of those. The NBIS scares me now. I see it, but anything with like this declining 55 pointing down, like I don't need this move. I go through this a lot where sometimes like I always review your trading, dude. I've been doing this like 20 something years now. And you always review your trading. And I go back to it and the biggest moves made by understanding thematic moves, right? And it's like, okay, do I want to buy that with the hopes that it's going to get to 100? Or do I want to understand that memory prices are going through the roof? Like what, do you know what I mean? Like where do I want to allocate my capital? Do you know, right? So like, where do I really want to allocate my capital? That's kind of where my head is when I look at this stuff. So I don't know. That's kind of really how I view it. And there are a lot of games lately, a lot of games. So I don't know. I think you have to have your head on a swivel right now. But like, if I have charts that look like this with a 12, a 22, and a 55, like if I have charts that look like this, like why in God's name am I even considering playing with this stuff? Like there's no point. Like why bother? And if you're day trading, cool, go for it. But like, the real money is like finding these themes. It really is. The more I look at it, and I can day trade with anybody, and I love doing it. Don't get me wrong, but I look at these themes like I don't know that they're going to go away. I think we're going to go through bumps in the road for sure. I think it's going to get way bumpier than we think it is. I hope to get clarity this week on some things. That's where my hope is. But I don't know, man. Like, why bother? It's like I was looking at these names going, like, why would I care about this? Like, where am I going to go with it? And that sometimes gets me out of stuff that like, oh, like this stuff can move like 10 points in a day. And, I avoid those kinds of names, because of the way that they're set up. But you start looking at the way some of these leaders are set up and it's like, why bother with anything else? Like, why even bother? It makes it like, it's almost makes zero sense to me. So I'm leaning towards that. Yeah. But by what I'm seeing in the market, yeah. Lulu I own and I've been owning it and I really don't see the sense of me doing anything with it. The real next step for them is to appoint a new CEO. And once that comes out, you'll see what happens to the stock. I think when they appoint the new CEO, I think the stock's going to go nuts. That's what I think. But once again, I don't know that. Hold on one second, guys. I have a feeling this thing's going to explode on me. Nope, didn't. I don't know how I feel about that. I mean, I don't think we have to look at that. What's up, Jay? I mean, why do you have to why would we really worry about like it's no like who cares? Like I love the experts now. I love the experts, but there's like everybody wanted to get this guy, and then you get him, and then everybody's like upset that you got him. It's mind-boggling. But to me, I think that there's really like only one real play here out of that whole thing. It's Chevron. Like that's really it. If you really think about it, it's like they're the one with the foothold. And then if it's not Chevron, you have to think about it and go, all right, well, what's left? Oh, we have to build out infrastructure. Okay, well, what are the two companies that built out infrastructure every time that we had to go in and build out infrastructure. Okay, one's called Halliburton, right? Remember Dick Cheney, the dude that shot that guy, right? So you have Halliburton, okay, and then you have Schlumberger. So to me, there's like 3 names, and the fact that Schlumberger's up like this and Halliburton's up like this, like it's so this they keep giving me this Indian company. It's so hard to get involved in these. I mean, it's not like somebody new, right? It's so hard to get involved in these, and with any kind of like short-term trading kind of mentality, it's really very difficult to get involved in them. So I can't stress that enough. It's definitely something that I pay attention to. It's certainly something that I would suggest that other people pay attention to. Like if you want to take advantage of that, John, it's CVX. It's just a function of, do you want to pay 166 or do you get a shot and it comes down? And I don't have an answer. Like I truly don't know that you're going to get a shot at that. I would think that you are, but we'll see. You might not. You might not get a shot at that, and we'll have to play it from there. We'll go through this. E-pole makes a lot of sense. Makes a lot of sense. So does EWI. Anybody that's like branching out of their own, out of the EU in one way or another, I'd really be paying attention to, especially if you're like long-term. ABEV. It doesn't look like it, bro. I don't know if the whole semiconductor trade's back on. I'm surprised NVIDIA is actually up on any of this, to be honest. I really am. I think that I think if you look at like, why is ASML up? Why is Micron up? Like that, this all makes sense to me, right? This kind of thing makes total sense to me, like why these names would be trading up, right? But I personally think you have to look at this stuff and go, all right, well, what do we do with this? Like, what do you do with these names? You better watch the open, and you better see that you actually lift and you actually push. You're not really seeing something commensurate with what's going on. Like, do you see how the market's lifting? And if we went to this, like here, I'll show you what I'm talking about. So you see how the market's lifting? Here's Micron. And then let's go look at Micron on a 1-minute chart. Like, does that look like the market? So when you start looking at what these leaders are and you're watching what that market's doing right now, you got the tail of 2 tapes, man. So I'm always very careful when I see that. Like you might watch like, oh, NVIDIA is going higher. Well, that's 8% of the index, right? I would just be super careful until you really know what's going on. There's not a thing that I always look at this stuff. Like this is the easiest way I can say it. I always look at like my early morning pre-market moves. Like I was whacking around Micron this morning and SanDisk this morning. I already blew them out, took small losses. And then I looked at that and I'm like, okay, if that's already happening to me pre-market, that's already telling me that the market's heavy. And that pattern recognition is not really working today for those names. So I think that you have to think about it this way. Are we setting up to pull back, or are we setting up to rotate into other names? That's really where I think we have to focus and try to understand what we're truly saying here. So that's how I say it. NMRA. I don't have all the good ideas, but that's a really bad idea. You got to be specific. PLTR is trading at like 200 times earnings. Like there's no way that's going to hold here if this market doesn't lift. Like there's just no way. So the names that I think that could come in the hardest if we roll, I don't think, Tesla being a great guy, Elon being a great guy is worth that amount of money. That's just my opinion. But again, you should do what you're comfortable with. I do think that when I look at some stuff like this, I always watch these names. I watch them bounce around. some of this stuff looks like it's just going to keep going, like really going to explode. So I don't know, man. I think you got to be super careful. I feel like I'm repeating myself over and over again because I just feel like people are setting themselves up here for, some real freaking pain. Like the first stop, the first time you scale out of a trade with your stop loss, it's usually the best, right? So I'm seeing zero follow through on anything today, man. Like zero. Like nothing's holding. Hopefully the microns hold. And people are like, well, what about micron? What about Taiwan Semi? Like you're not really having tons of follow through since you opened this morning. You're just not. I'm not knocking it. Like nothing would make me happier, right? Because it's so much easier to trade. But they're up. Okay, how's that working out for you? So they bid them up, and then everyone gets giddy, and then they run into them, right? How's that working? So 9, I got to go, guys. PLTR to me is a short. Baker Hughes, I did not think about. I thought about Halliburton and someone saying, good morning from Miami. Good morning from Miami. It depends. I don't know that you're out of the wood. I don't know that you're sunk yet on that. Ooh, Cuban coffee time. UAVS. Let's see there. Please hit the like button. What do you call it? Mill always trades this name. Mill loves this name. He's like, are you in Path? No. It looks awful. God, that looks awful. I think that's the way to go, man. If you want to be in Venezuela. I really do. I think that's the way to go. Hi from Tokyo. Yeah, I think you're on the right path there. I mean, I think looking at the XLB basic materials, any of that stuff, I would think Lynn gets pulled up by it, but it's really just been, copper, silver mines, all that stuff. PPTA was one, I've been buying. I think the silver is completely overdone. And, I really do. Like, to me, just keep bidding it up like over and over again because I can't wait to short it. Like, I just can't wait. Keep running it. Maybe it'll go limit up. Maybe we'll get lucky. But I just can't wait. Just keep going higher. And then I'll just come in and short it again. If it bids up a lot, I just buy puts underneath of it and kill it. But I'm not chasing that thing. No way. No. Schlumberger makes a lot of sense, maybe on a pullback. I don't know that I would fade it, but I'm not really that interested in going long it. So I'm just going to go through these super quick. If it moves, I'll trade it. I don't care. Yeah, I think they all do to an extent. I know JP Morgan got stuck the other day. Yeah, I do. I like this. I like this name a lot. And you have a buyer there. I was just talking to someone about this last night. And you have a buyer there. You do. So I do. I like that. Man, this is just wild. It's going to be a wild day, guys. So settle in. Get ready. Let's see what else we have here before we go. See if any of this stuff continued or followed through. And I don't know. I'd be super, super careful with today. Like super careful. Yeah, you just want to make sure that it's all going to hold, guys. I guess that's the way to go. Let's start from there, and we'll see how this plays out. We'll get a better sense of it later today, for sure. But that's really where my head is with it. All right, I got to jump. Trade to win, guys.